Today we're going to learn about surface area of a three-dimensional figure. So a real-life object, something you can almost hold in your hand, right? 3 dimensions. It has length, width, and height. So look at the definition. Surface area is the sum of the areas of all the faces in a three-dimensional figure. So if you look here, this is a three-dimensional figure. It's the length, width, and height. And when it says area of faces, it means the sides. So think of a cube like this, like a dice. How many sides are there on a dice? 6. We have the left, the right, the top, the bottom, the front, and the back. So we have 6 sides to a cube. And when we talk about surface area, the reason we want to know surface area is if we're painting, if we're wrapping up something, if we're trying to figure out how much is on the outside, the area. That's why we use surface area. Okay? So, if we look at this figure, here's our cube. Now, at the top, we can't see the bottom. The left is hidden. The right, the front, and the back is hidden. But we want to find the surface area. So one way we can do this is we break it down. We turn a 3D figure into a 2D figure. So, if you can see this, I'm opening it up. Now, I can find the area of this 2D figure, kind of like what we did before. Length times width, length times width, length times width. Now, how many sides do we see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? If I were to open it and close it, you would see 6 sides. Now, how do I find the area of each side? One way we can do that is looking at each individual color side. Let's look at the orange one. How would I find the area of this? Well, we know area of a rectangle or square is length times width. So what's my length here? 1, 2, 3. What's my width? 1, 2, 3. So I have a 3 by 3. And how do I find area? I multiply it. So 3 times 3 is 9. And isn't that the same for all the rest? 3 by 3, 3 by 3, and so forth. So, when we look at this, I could say that if I separate each one to a color and find the area of each one, what do I get? All of these are 9. Correct? And if we look back, it says surface area is the sum of the areas. So what should I do with all these 9s? Yep, I should add them up. And if I do, I get 54. Another way, specifically for cubes, because I know there's 6 of the same one, I can just do 6 times 9 equals 54. So this is one method of solving for surface area. I take a shape and I turn it into a 2D figure by opening it up and looking at every single side. The face. For each face, there is an area, and then I add up all the areas. So that's one way you can solve surface area. Another way to find surface area is actually use the formula. So the formula here is surface area equals 2 times length times width, 2 times length times height, and 2 times width times height. Now what does this all mean? It means I have to look for the length, the width, and the height. Because I have this cube, I want to figure out the dimensions, and using those dimensions, I can plug it into the calculator. Now, you might ask, I don't know what 2 times length times width means. Why 2? Well, let's look at this. Length times width. If I look at this cube, where's my length? Here's my length right here. Right here. And what's my width? Kind of like how deep it can go. Right here and right here. So when I look at this figure, length times width, which color face am I looking at? Well, it would be the green one. Length times width. And if I open it up, this green one is the same as what? Remember, it's the top. It's the same as the bottom. Length times width. So that's why I pair it up. Kind of like right here, there's a pair, there's 2 of them. Because the top and bottom are the same. The left, the right are the same. And the front and back are the same. So when I look at this, there's 2 of the length times widths. The top and the bottom. And that's what goes here. What's length times height? Length times height, how tall it is. So this figure, this is this face. Length times height. And what does it match to? The back, front, back. So length times height, length times height. And I'm adding it. There's 2 of these. So that's why there's 2 length times height. And if you would guess, width times height would be your left and right. Okay. So remember, first one, we broke it down to the faces. We found the area of each single face and added it up. This one, in this one, we just have the formula. Once I figure out the length, width, and height, I'm just going to plug it into the equation. Plug it in. Remember, we're using the same cube, and I'm going to use the length, the width, and height. I'm plugging it in. So wherever I see an L, I'm going to put a 3. Wherever I see a W, I'm going to put a 3. And whenever I see an H, I'm going to put a 3. And what will we get? Let me erase this for a sec. I replace the L with 3, W with 3. L with 3, H with 3. W with 3, H with 3. Remember, I'm just erasing it and replacing it with the known numbers. Once I have this, just do the math. Let's multiply these out. So 2 times 3 times 3 will give you 18. 18 and 18. And what do I do? I add it all up to get 54. And if you would look, 54, 54, it's the same thing. These are two of the main methods, okay, of solving surface area. This will be the main formula I want us to look at, just because we're in 7th, 8th grade right now, and we want to be able to look at equations, expressions, and understand the algebraic reasoning and process to solving them. But I will show you one more visual method of solving this out. So let's look over here. We have the same cube, but right here it's 3 feet. Now remember, cubes, all the sides are 3 because all the sides are the same, like a square. So we have 3 feet here. That would be my length. My height would still be 3. And my width would also be 3. This method is in the video, the other video. So if you like that method, use it. I think it's a good way to see what's going on and then bring it to numbers. If you can see, this corner looks like a corner. The same thing as this one right here. Okay? Now, why am I doing that? Because this is a visual way of seeing the height, the length, and the width. And just like in that video, what did they do? They put the length, height, and width on the lines to show you that. Then, what they did is they wanted to find the faces. So if you look right here, this part, what face would that be on the actual cube? Looks like the top. Okay? So we're using these two numbers to find the top. And because it's area, what do? We're going to multiply. So what do we get? 3 times 3, and we would get 9. Now this side, what face is that? If you said the front, that would be correct. Okay? So it's 3 times 3. That same thing. Goes over here. And this side, this face, will go over here. Once you see that this represents the top, this represents the front, and this represents the right side. But how many sides, how many faces are there in a cube? 6. I only got the top, front, and right. I didn't get the left side, I didn't get the bottom or the back. But if we remember, the top is the same as the bottom, front is the same as the back, and right is the same as the left. So if I were to write this out, I only have the front, the top, and the right. If I add these all up, I would get 27. So I got 3 out of the 6 sides. But we know that we should double it, because the front is the same as the back, right is the same as the left, and top is the same as the bottom. So I can just double it. Let's see what happens when I double it. 27 times 2. Put that in the calculator. 54. It's the same as if we used a formula, and the same if we broke it down to each individual shape, the face. It's all the same. So these are 3 of the methods. Now, my preference is this one because I like numbers, I like equations. But if you like the visual way, you can do it this way or break it down to the sides. That doesn't have to look like this, where it's all connected or whatever. What you could have done is whenever you see a problem, is you draw out all the sides. You know that these are all squares. So all the faces, how many are there? You could say there's 6. And what do we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what do we do for the area? We multiply it. So 3 times 3. And we will get 9. 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. We add it all up and we get 54. This is the same concept as what's going on here. So whatever way works for you, the visual or the number way, try it out. See which one works for you. But the main idea, surface area steps, we have to find the length, the width, and the height. That's what we did here on all 3 cases. Then you can either plug into the formula or the corner method. I say corner method as this. Okay? And here's the equation. And that's really it. 2 steps. Find a length, width, and height. Plug it into your method. Okay? But always, always, always make sure you write it down. Just like I did right here. I wrote down the length, wrote down the width, wrote down the height. I should see this for all your problems, okay? This way you know exactly which numbers to use. Now we're dealing with cubes, so the numbers are the same, but tomorrow we'll be looking at rectangular prisms where the numbers are going to be different. But we can use the same formulas, the same methods. This is just an introduction, showing you how to do it with the easiest shape. So let's look at the homework and let's try the first problem. So when we look at the first problem, I kind of already did it for you. But here's the height, which is 16. Remember, cube, all the sides are the same. So my length is 16 and my width is 16. I write that down. Length equals 16, width equals 16, height equals 16. And I write down my equation, if you're choosing to use the equation. What do I do now? I plug in my numbers into the variables. So L would equal 16, W would equal 16, L 16, H 16, W 16, H 16. I plugged it in. Now I just do the math. 2 times 16 times 16. What would I get? 512. 512 for each. What do I do now? I do the operation of addition. So add these numbers up, and what do I get? 1,536 millimeters squared. Now, you might say, it's a 3D figure. Shouldn't it be to the third? That's interesting, right? It kind of makes sense. There's three dimensions. Last time we were dealing with just squares, which were 2 dimensions. But remember, we're looking at surface area. So area is always to the second power. Okay? So I should see this work on your homework or the visual way. Either or works for me. So remember, I just did the first one with you. Surface area cube, all the sides are the same. So this should be 4, 4, 4, 12, 12, 12, 5, 5, 5, and so forth. You should write the sides down, write the equation, replace the variables with the numbers, and then do the math. And you will get your answer. This might be a little tricky. There's a lot of variables. It might not look like everything's given to you, but we're going to work on that, okay? If you have any questions or comments, let me know. This might be a little tricky. But as long as you follow the steps, you will definitely figure out the surface area.